welcome to We Wine Whenever. I'm Wendy.
I'm Kelly.
We are talking about Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 14, Episode number 2, A Sobering Separation. So we pick up where we left off at the party with Dorit and Kyle were arguing. Dorit is fed up. She feels like Kyle was flushing their 8-year relationship down the drain. I wasn't really sure what they were fighting about, but they kind of made it clear. So on Watch What Happens Live, Andy asked Dorit about her relationship with Kyle. Has it changed since Morgan has entered the picture? And Dorit said then that she felt like, the closer Kyle got to Morgan, the further apart she was from Dorit. And Dorit doesn't feel that Kyle is being honest about what is happening in her life. And, that was for everyone to hear. Kyle also was upset with her about something that had happened on the stage at BravoCon when somebody asked her, I don't know if it was Andy or a question that Andy was asking for somebody else.
No, someone in the audience got up and asked, rate the
Richards
sisters from your favorite to the least favorite.
Right.
But you saw what happened. Kyle spilled a drink on her and she jokingly said, well, Kyle's last.
Right.
And Kyle laughed very hard when she said that.
Yes, she did.
She was not insulted and she was not offended.
Right. And also on the Amazon Live that Kyle did,
right,
she said that, Dorit was blowing things out of proportion. And I guess she was referring to the Watch What Happens Live, that they weren't really that close, that, they'd only gone on 1 or 2 vacations together. It's not like they were that close. And Dorit felt like she was minimizing their friendship, or Dorit thought it was more than Kyle thought it was. So she was hurt.
I think she was minimizing their friendship, and I think that that's very hurtful for like Dorit to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were probably more couple friends than anything,
right?
Because of how close Mo and PK were. But we have couple friends, and even though we're couple friends, like I still consider the wife like a good friend,
right?
So I honestly think Kyle is 100% wrong in this.
Yeah,
that's just my personal opinion. I think that when Kyle did get closer with Morgan, she did probably pull back from a lot of friendships. And Dorit's just being honest about that. And I don't think Kyle liked it.
Well, I also think a part of it is that, Dorit was the one bringing it up on camera about what's going on with Mo. I don't know if you remember last season when they were in the car together. She was kind of questioning her. Meanwhile, everyone in the cast knew that PK was already living at the hotel. So they weren't putting out her stories, Dorit's, but Dorit is all of a sudden putting Kyle on blast because it's in the tabloids.
Kyle already doing that to herself? Like that whole scene with her and Maurizio when the season first started and he was talking to her about her tattoos. Like somebody said it online, like Dorit gave us more about her separation in one episode than Kyle did all last season. And that is 100% true. Kyle was like insinuating things, but not. It was very odd what she was doing last season.
Yeah,
and
but
I don't think it's because she didn't know what was going on and she was confused.
I do. I think it was because she knew that Mo was leaving, but I do think that she was confused as to what she was going to do. And that's what I think. But I do think that, okay, yeah, Dorit gave us more in one episode, but it had been going on for a year and she didn't speak of it at all.
But if somebody asked her, she would have had to. So really, somebody should have put her on the spot like she put Kyle on the spot.
But nobody would do that to her. I mean, that's the point. Like, they didn't do that to her. And they all knew. They all have said they all knew what was going on. They all knew.
Yeah.
I mean, even Erica said, even though she was upset when she told her, she knew about it. It really wasn't a surprise. So, like, is that really a good friend?
And I think Dorit keeps saying PK's an alcoholic. This is my personal opinion. Because I think PK really did have a drinking problem. And everybody on the cast knew it. And probably everybody else in their life. And probably for years, Dorit made excuses for him. Because that's what people, that's what spouses do. And now she's finally like, whew, yeah, yep, you got a drinking problem. Like, she's probably finally like, I can admit it. He finally admitted it. And he's sober now and doing great. So now I can admit it. Because for years, she probably tried to hide it and cover it up for him.
I mean, that could be true.
Publicly.
Yeah, no, I agree that that's probably true. I still don't like how she keeps doing it. I think it's insensitive.
He said it first and is in recovery and doing well. If that weren't the case and she kept saying it, I would feel the same way you do.
I mean, the reason I really don't like it is mostly because of her children, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I know that they say that they're not telling them, but listen, there's going to come a time when they're going to see this.
Absolutely.
And to have their mother speaking about their father that way, I just think it's brutal. That's just my opinion. I mean, and the bottom line is they didn't resolve anything at this party. They didn't resolve anything. They both leave the party. Bo seems concerned about how upset Dorit was when she had left because, they got so close in that one meeting because Dorit, just told her everything that was going on in her life.
Yeah.
But then the next thing we get to see is we get to learn a little bit about Boz. So her real name is Bozoma. Bozoma, I can't even pronounce it, Mamiki Arthur St. John, otherwise known as Boz, which I can get behind because I could spell it.
Yeah. I think she's a good addition.
Yes. Her name is Gaianan, and it means goddess, which is so fitting for her because I do think she is a goddess. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
she has a presence for sure.
Yes. I mean, Forbes named her #1 most influential CMO in the world. Since she's retired, she's been busier than ever. She's doing her podcast. She's doing these workshops, the Badass Workshop, because everyone would ask her, like, how do you get to the corner office? So she's trying to empower women and teach them how to get there. And we see a little bit of the workshop where she's telling them, she was working for PepsiCo and she signed the largest deal ever with the NFL for the Super Bowl halftime show to sponsor it. A few months later, they discover that her husband has cancer, terminal cancer, that they were separated from at the time. They were separated. His name is Peter Daniel St. John. And she at the time was looking for her Black Prince Charming, but she wound up meeting some ginger-haired Italian background, no black friends kind of guy. I love that. I think that's so funny.
That was funny.
Couldn't be more opposite of what she was looking for. Whatever it was about them, they clicked.
Yep.
And it worked for them.
Yeah.
And then 3 months later, he passes away.
That's terrible.
Her daughter was only 4 years old, which is tragic. Lael. Yeah. So she was robbed of ever having a relationship with her father. And February the following year, which was 2014, which is 10 years ago now, she was up for review, and her boss says to her that she hadn't hit enough home runs, which is like,
yeah,
what?
Like, come on, the NFL halftime show?
Right. And she knew then that she needed to pivot, and good for her. I think that she is an inspiration.
Yeah.
To all women, to be honest with you.
She's a great speaker. She was very motivational.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, we got to learn a lot about her, which I like that. I like to get to know these housewives. I like to know where they came from, how they got to be there, what makes them, Yeah. I think that's important.
Yeah.
Then we see Sutton meeting up with Kyle. And the last time Sutton was there, she talks about how she got a little Botox from a doctor
in the hotel room.
At the hotel. I was like, okay, Sutton.
Did you hear Kyle? She's like, how long ago was it?
Right.
Like basically saying like it's worn off. Right?
See,
like that's how I took it. Maybe I'm wrong.
That's so funny. It's so funny. She probably did mean it that way, but I didn't take it that way.
Okay. I'm like, damn, that's not when somebody tells you they got Botox, you don't normally ask how long ago because you're insinuating that they need it again.
Then they're talking about Kyle and her family vacations. And, Kyle says she trusts Mo and that they'll always be okay because Sutton feels like that Kyle needs to just file and she needs to get a lawyer and she needs to make a move. And I know she's telling her this because of what happened to her with her divorce situation.
Yeah.
I know she has good intentions, but not everyone's situation is the same.
No, and there's two things to this. Like, I can't believe Kyle hasn't even spoken to an attorney yet, but she's in the past said, like, I don't ask questions. Mo tells me to sign things and I sign them. And in that respect, I honestly do think that if they do get divorced, and it does sound like they're headed that way, it will be amicable. And I don't think he's going to look to screw her over. Like, I understand where Sutton's coming from, because it does seem like her husband was trying to withhold from her.
Right.
I would hope that Mo wouldn't do that to Kyle, but you really don't ever know. And I'm sure they've had the same attorney and accountant and team handling their finances forever since they've made all of this money. So she's probably like, what do you mean get an attorney? I have an attorney. Like, our attorney is going to do everything for, you know what I mean? Like, I do think that Kyle, I think she has every right to trust Maurizio. I really hope he doesn't screw her over. But I also understand where Sutton's coming from. Like, Sutton probably didn't think her husband would do that to her either. Although, I mean, I don't know. Maybe because we've all watched Maurizio on TV for so long and we love him and we know that they were really, truly happily married and in love for so long. They have these daughters that they both love dearly, obviously. So I don't know. I can't see him trying to withhold anything from her, but you just never know when it comes to money.
You don't know, but she did say that she owns half of everything that they have, even the agency.
California is a 50-50 state, and whatever they have acquired during their marriage. So I don't think he'd have a leg to stand on, quite honestly.
Right.
She does own 50% of the agency, or 50% of his
portion.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And she said, he's even said it in his book that he wouldn't have any of this without her. And then, Sutton in her confessionals, like, well, I hardly think the book is going to be evidence in it. But, come on.
She's right.
I mean, it's not going to be evidence, but I think that Kyle is right in her thought that, listen,
yes.
He's publicly said that everything I have, I wouldn't have without Kyle. And like you said, 50%, the law is, and, they had nothing,
And by the way, that's in New Jersey too.
Yeah.
Whatever you acquire during the marriage is.
No. I always told Bill it's cheaper to keep her.
Yeah. Yeah. I say something else to Eric, which is I got to stop saying. He's worth more to me when he's
dead. Yeah. My mother used to say that to my dad.
I got to stop saying that. It's really not nice.
It's not.
He really laughs it off, but I know deep down he's not laughing. But I do think that Kyle should listen to what Sutton has to say, because she's a good friend and she's been through it. And she was very successful in the end, wasn't she?
She was very successful. And Sutton,
$350 a month. Yeah.
So Sutton is actually she kind of elaborates on it a little bit more, because she does say to her, I think you need to file. And Kyle says, why? And Sutton says, because if you go on to do something else, and then if you file now, that'll be your date. So if you go on to do something else, then he'll get a portion of that as well if you don't have a file date. But the same thing goes true. The same thing goes true for him too. He could go on to do something else as well.
Right.
So,
And his show did get canceled. Like, listen, obviously the agency is extremely successful. I mean, the growth from when he first started, and we only know this from watching the show.
Right.
It's obviously worth a lot of money, but real estate is, not recession proof. It's ebbs and flows. And I don't know, does she get 50% of what it's worth right now, and then plus no future earnings once she files?
I don't know. Well, I guess that's maybe the point Sutton's making.
Yeah.
Like, get a file date. Even if it's a separation file date, I don't know. I don't know if that's something that they do, Like a legal separation, I mean, they said that they're separated, but is there a legal date that you separate?
I don't know. I don't know if you file to separate. I've never worked in a divorce firm, thankfully. Because that's nasty.
I would not want to do that.
No, I've had friends who have, worked at law firms that handle divorce, and it's just not.
No, doesn't sound like it. So then the next thing we see Boz is at her house with her assistant, Nico, and Erica and Dorit are on their way.
He's going to be a whole cast member himself.
I like him. Yeah, I like
too.
Nico. I do like him. I thought it was interesting that Boz asked the ladies to take their shoes off when they got there. And then she says, okay, we're going to go outside. And I'm like, wait, but she has slippers there waiting for them, as she should.
So I don't know who it was. Was it Jennifer Aiden? Somebody gave you, like, if you don't want people to walk in your house with their shoes on, which I don't ever ask anybody to take their shoes off, but whatever.
I don't either, but some people like that.
Somebody had those little slippers that you just put over your shoes.
The blue disposable ones?
Something. Like, to me, it's like, give people that so they don't have to take their shoes off.
Yeah.
Unless they want to.
Right.
It was Jen Eden who did that, but I could be wrong. Maybe Mary Cosby?
I think if you're a baller, just have slippers there waiting for them.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, just have the slippers.
And she
did.
Yeah, she absolutely did. She absolutely did. And I'll be honest with you, I probably should take my shoes off because we hosted Thanksgiving and we had mopped the floor, obviously, before Thanksgiving. And there was a couple spills. So I just got down on my hands and knees and I was like wiping it up with I was like, wow, this floor is dirty. And we had just mopped it.
No, you never do your floors before you have company. You got to wait until after they leave and then you do the floors.
Well, of course we did it again, but doing the cleanups in between.
Yeah.
I'm just like, can't believe it's this dirty. We just mopped it.
I know.
So then Erica and Dorit, they asked Boz what she thought about the party. And she's it's Boz, what she thought about the party. And she asked what Kyle was mad about. She had no idea what that whole, and why would she? She'd never met her.
Yeah.
And Dorit said, I don't know. She keeps changing what she's upset with me about. Which it goes back to she doesn't know what kind of friend she wants her to be. Who were we talking about that with? Somebody on Potomac, right? Wasn't it Potomac?
Can't remember. My memory is so bad.
I know. Anyway, she doesn't know really what kind of friend she wants her to be at this point because they keep getting
was New York with Aaron and Bryn and them.
Well, maybe it was New York.
That mess and Sutton now.
I don't know. There's too many going on right now.
It's those C's done.
I know.
Woo!
There is too many.
But then Beverly Hills picked up, so we really didn't lose anything.
I know. It's very true.
Yeah.
So then Erica says she sees both sides of it. And I
feel bad for Erica because I feel like she's trying to stay in the middle.
And she is. And honestly, I think she's doing a good job of it.
Yeah, I do think she's doing a good job of it. I'll tell you what she's not doing. She's not pulling a Dolores. She's not doing that.
No,
she
she's
really
not.
Is riding the fence, Erica.
Yes,
and
she is.
Not flipping to one side or the other.
Right. Which I appreciate. I'd rather you do that than, Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we see Mo and PK are off together living their best lives.
That's what Erica says.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Right.
We're fighting in NC now.
Yeah.
And PK and Mo are off living their best lives. And she's right.
She absolutely is. And then Boz asks if there's any chance of reconciliation for PK. And this is kind of what we were saying, I think, about why she didn't tell the children or she wasn't going to tell the children is because I think she thought maybe there's a possibility that there will be a reconciliation and she didn't want to traumatize the children if she didn't need to. And at this point, she says yes. But I think once we get to later on in the episode, maybe she will have the realization that we all have that I don't think that there's going to be a reconciliation. I don't know.
I still have hopes for it. But I'll tell you what, I
Okay.
do now understand why she's not telling her kids. Because when she said that if they got into a fight, PK would take off and not come back for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And she'd have to tell her kids that he was working. So listen, if that was common in their household, there's nothing wrong with her not telling her kids right now because they are little. And if this was normal for them not to see their father for a couple of weeks, why tell them then now?
Right.
If she's in hopes that they will reconcile.
Yes.
And I do have hopes for it. I do.
Okay.
I think that but we'll get to it. I mean, obviously more things come up when the two of them sit down and speak, but
yes.
I think that Dorit wants to reconcile for sure.
Oh, I do too.
I just saw a real quick thing today earlier that Jeff Lewis was on the Vile Files.
Okay.
And insinuated that the separation, so the separation could also be due not only to his alcoholism, but because Dorit is putting the show. Dorit has put the show before her marriage and kids. If I got that wrong, somebody please feel free to clear it up, because like I said, I saw it real quick and then I took a nap.
So listen, I just saw today on, I didn't listen to it, but I listened to a small clip of it. The one that Alex Baskin does. What is that podcast?
So I don't listen to it, but I know.
But he's a producer, right?
Right?
So he was talking to Dorit, and he said, and PK is the one that wanted her to do Housewives.
Yes.
She did not. She did not want to do Housewives. The only reason she did it is because PK wanted her to do it. So
I had heard that too.
Given that fact, why would she be putting the Housewives? She didn't even want to do it. Like,
I'm
that
sure
doesn't make
once
sense.
you get there and then you get a taste of the fame. I don't know. I'm just saying that's what I saw today that Jeff Lewis said on Nick Vile's podcast. But I don't know. How would Jeff Lewis know? Who's he friends with?
Jeff Lewis
is friends with Crystal, and
he's friends with a lot of them. But you know what? He's a pot stirrer. He's a
100%.
He's a pot stirrer, so I don't necessarily believe him. And the more I listen, I do listen to him.
I know, he's good. He's good.
Conflicted about it, to be quite honest with you, because I know that there's a lot of things about him that are very bad. But I still listen to him. I don't know. So then what else happened? So Sutton says that although Kyle and her have their ups and downs, she still wants to be there for her. Sutton says that about Kyle. Sutton's planning this pizza party to go over to her house and kind of cheer her up. So she's got these pizza kits, and Erica comes over and Kathy Hilton come over, and they all get in a car together and they head over to Kyle's house because I guess Sutton heard earlier in the day that Kyle had walked into Mo's office and he had replaced a picture of her and Mo with a picture of him and Emma, his Dancing with the Stars partner.
Now, why do you think that bothers her so much when she was all over Instagram and social media with Morgan?
Well, because when they said the office, I was assuming it was his work office. But then when
I knew what they meant, that office in the house.
But why would he do that in the house if he just moved out? And why wouldn't he take it with him?
Right.
That doesn't make sense. It doesn't
None
make
of
sense.
it makes sense. Them going there and acting like she didn't know they were coming didn't make sense, because that was so staged and so fake and produced. It's ridiculous.
Yes, but especially since you have to get through a gate.
And every scene with Kathy Hilton is just ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. It really was.
But I'm like, what? I mean, listen, I understand your husband has a picture of you up and then there's a picture of him and another woman. You've technically been separated. This has been going on for 2 years now. Think about when, you know what I'm saying? 2 years.
Yeah, but in your own house?
Over social media with this girl. All over it. I guess it's different because, like you're saying, it's a picture in your own house.
It's in your own house. And that means that you had to go physically take the frame down, take one picture out, and put another picture in. Like, that takes effort. What does
you
that?
Really think Maurizio's doing that kind of stuff himself?
Like, what?
He's swapping out a picture?
That's exactly my point. Like, what man is doing that?
Yeah, Eric wouldn't do it. And Eric doesn't have people working for him like Maurizio.
Right. Like, I don't know a single man that would go change a picture in their house.
No, me neither.
From one to another in a frame. No one's doing that.
No. I call bullshit.
I have to agree, because it did not make sense to me. It did not make sense. And them trying to figure out how to get into the gate and pretending that they're Amazon and
yeah, and Kathy has to do a voice because she's so funny.
Right.
I just feel like Kyle's playing victim, and like I said, this has been going on for 2 years. I think you're dragging it out. I don't know what your gig is. I don't get it. I don't get it.
And I did like seeing her in the kitchen with Portia making dinner.
Absolutely.
I liked. But then, unfortunately, Portia had to go upstairs once the ladies showed up, so we didn't get to see Portia anymore.
Right. She's so cute, though. She's so pretty.
She really is.
Really are beautiful.
They are. And they're really, honestly, they seem all to be very much down to earth.
Yeah. Yes, they do.
Like,
yes, they do.
Right?
Yes, they do.
She's running out.
to other housewives' kids
Yes.
who don't have nearly the money
Right.
that Kyle and Maurizio do. The way they behave is very different.
I agree. So then they're making their pizzas, kind of. I don't really think they even made the pizzas. Right?
Not at all.
Right.
Not
And
at all.
then Kathy's sitting down talking to Sutton and asking, how Garcelle or where Garcelle is. And she's telling her that she's in Atlanta and she's shooting the 2 movies. Sutton says, listen, we're here for you, Kyle. And I'm glad to see that they're there for her, but I don't know that we needed to do this whole pizzas.
No. But it did give Kathy Hilton the opportunity to clown on Maurizio for his Instagram post. And then she says that her family doesn't discuss him. And then they show the post where Paris slammed him in the press. I do love it when production does that. She's
No,
like,
I do
my
too.
family doesn't talk about them. And then they put the headline up there.
Right. Right.
That's great.
Okay, and then the ladies all leave in their pajamas. They put on their pajamas and then they leave in their pajamas.
Did you notice that they left one by one, but they all came in the same vehicle?
Yes, I did. I did. And Kathy's like carrying her clothes in her arms. Like she doesn't even have a bag. Kathy, who has a bag for everything, is like got her clothes scrunched up in her arms. I was like,
So stupid.
it really
So
is.
stupid.
It really is.
Oh my God.
Okay, the next thing we see is that PK meets up with Dorit and they're in the restaurant and he's showing off his new clothes to her. And he stands up and he says, this is single PK.
He does look good.
He does.
He had quite the glow up, PK. See what not drinking alcohol can do for you?
Yep. That's what he said. He's lost all this weight now that he's no longer drinking.
By the way, real quick, I just want to say, shout out. My husband today is 3 years. He has not had an ounce of alcohol.
Shout out to Eric.
Can you believe that?
That's awesome.
He does not have a drinking problem for anyone at home, but he made a decision 3 years ago to just not drink alcohol anymore. 3 years.
That's great.
Yeah. So good job, big guy.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So he says that he didn't know how bad he had this disease. PK said that, meaning alcoholism. And listen, I like that he's owning it. I like that he's done something about it and, that he's moving forward. But the look on Dorit's face, when he stands up and he says, this is single PK. And then in her confessional, she's like, I don't think he has any idea how that makes me feel. And he definitely does not. He doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't. And for that, I feel bad for her. I do.
Yeah, because he basically says that he did what she wanted him to do, right? He stopped drinking, and I guess he feels like it's still not enough. So basically he feels like she was deprioritizing him.
Right.
I have to be honest, I feel like a lot of men feel that way when women have children. Like, that's why Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson got divorced. They're very open about it. They both admit to that. He felt like he wasn't number one anymore in her eyes. And, do think it's a fine line because they do, we've had this conversation before over other franchises. We're Christians and that's not the only religion that says this, but you're supposed to obviously put God or whoever your higher power is first, then your spouse, your partner, and then your kids. It's very difficult for us to do that though as moms. And I'm sure some dads too.
It is. I agree.
Yeah.
It is hard. But what I thought was interesting, what he said is that, and he put himself in there too, that you and I, we don't speak nice to each other.
Right.
And if we spoke to the server the way that we speak to each other, we would be thrown out of this restaurant.
Yeah. And I listen, I get it. Same thing goes on in my house sometimes. I'll be the first to admit it. We're not always super nice to each other. You got to really keep yourself in check. And if there's drinking involved, it's way worse.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then PK says, it's not like we don't like each other. I don't question the love. Like, I do love you. He says, I've made the biggest changes that you wanted, but I don't think you made any changes. So what changes did you want her to make? You wanted her to stop taking care of the kids? And then, but were you there after you made the big changes? So you got sober, but did you get sober and then move back in? or did you get sober and stay in the hotel?
And he kind of said to her what I think was part of an issue between Maurizio and Kyle as well. Like, he was like, you used to be social, you used to come out with me, you used to. So for Dorit, she's got little kids at home.
Right.
It's way more difficult to do that. And then for Kyle, although her kids are older, sometimes you just don't want to do that anymore.
Right. Right.
Like, especially if she's trying to live a healthier lifestyle by not drinking. But Dorit, she's got young kids at home.
Right. No, she definitely does. Yeah.
And, good for her that she's not leaving her kids every night to go out and socialize and leaving them with a nanny. Because what kind of, that's not good either.
No, it certainly is not. It's not. I mean, I did like that he said to her that, we'll always be family. I'll always be there for you until I die. Which, I mean, you have to say that because, like, you have small children. They will always be family. I mean, they have to co-parent. And then Dorit says, well, we're talking 5 times a day. And he's like, well, that's going to stop. That's when I think she was like,
yeah, I agree with you there. I don't think she saw that coming.
No.
I don't think she liked it at all.
No, he said, we have to break this codependency, and I agree, because if you don't feel like you're going to get back together, you do need to stop that, because the talking 5 times a day is what's giving her hope.
Right.
Yeah.
You
need to stop that. You need to figure a way forward, and you need to set clear boundaries.
Right.
Yeah. And that's going to be hard. I think that's going to be hard for her.
I think that they were extremely honest, and I think that this was a real conversation that they had on camera, and I think it's way more than we've gotten from Kyle and Maurizio over the past 2 years. I feel bad they're going through this, but I think they're very brave for doing it on camera.
No, I do too. I absolutely do too. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. We're only on episode 2, so there's plenty left for us to see how it plays out.
Yeah. Real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen? I haven't watched any of it because I don't really care for Andy Cohen that much anymore. But they did that thing in Miami. It was a BravoCon.
The Fan Fest.
Yeah. Did you notice that there were no Jersey Housewives? Every other franchise had housewives there. No Jersey Housewives.
I did notice that there were no Jersey Housewives. Although, you know what? I don't think there were any Potomac Housewives there either.
Oh, I thought there were.
No, I don't think. No. There was not any Potomac Housewives.
I wonder why. Are they still filming?
No, because they're airing now, so they're not filming.
Oh, right.
They're airing. I don't know. I think it was very limited, even in the people that were there. So I was watching some of the Watch What Happens lives because they were down there. So one of them it was Summer House. So it was Kyle and Amanda, Sienna and Jesse Solomon. And on that same episode was Captain Sandy, Captain Carrie, and
I don't like that Captain Carrie.
What's her name?
Aisha?
No, not Aisha. The one that just had a baby.
Kate Chastain.
Kate Chastain and somebody.
Not even on Bravo anymore.
Well, she still does stuff here and there. Kate Chastain was on it and somebody else, and now I can't think of who. And they were playing games and stuff, and it was like, a live audience. But they didn't have full cast of anything, because I also saw the one where they had Cynthia Bailey. They had Phaedra Parks, and they had Portia.
Mm-hmm.
That was from Atlanta. And then the other cast members were from Miami, I think.
Yeah, I saw they had Miami.
And again, Miami was filming.
Any girls there?
Any which girls?
OC?
No OC, no New York. No New York. No OC, no New York.
See, I thought Jersey was the only one that didn't have people there. Okay, so that makes sense then.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that. There was some Salt Lake City girls there, but not all of them. I think it was Heather and Lisa. Yeah.
I saw Meredith with Lisa.
And Meredith, I think. Or maybe Whitney. Was Whitney there? I don't know. But there were certain cities that were not represented at all. So it wasn't just New Jersey.
Okay.
And it was very limited. And the only reason, one, it was in Miami. 2, they're filming Miami now. So the Miami women were there. And we got to meet the new Miami housewife. But I don't even remember her, to be honest with you. It was just like a split second.
Is it really that guy Anthony's ex?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And some people are saying that is maybe the reason she decided not to come back. And it could very well be, but she doesn't need it anyway.
She doesn't need that
She
show.
doesn't need it. She's got
too good for that show.
Nope, she does not need it. I agree.
Yeah, that I love watching her Instagrams with her and her husband and their private jet and their yachts and their beautiful children. Like, God bless her.
Yes.
She doesn't need to be in that mess. Those girls are so messy on Miami.
They are messy. The interesting thing was, I saw Julia on it. So she adopted twins. What's her name? Alexia wants to get back with Todd. Her boys miss Todd. Todd doesn't want to film, so that's maybe why he filed for divorce, they're thinking.
Really?
Yes.
Just don't film. Why do you have to film if you're married?
Well, he doesn't
do that.
Yeah, he doesn't come off very good when he films, so he shouldn't film.
No, he probably should.
I thought the very interesting thing was Adriana and Alexia are good now. Like, they're getting along.
That is interesting.
Yeah. And somebody else is getting along too that wasn't getting along, and I can't remember. Maybe Marisol.
I can't stand Marisol.
It could be Marisol. I don't remember.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with those other franchises.
Yeah, I'll definitely watch Miami. I'm not really into Atlanta. I don't know.
Well, I got to see. I mean, watching Portia and Phaedra and Cynthia Bailey, no, you have to watch Atlanta. I'm telling you, it's going to be good. It's going to be good.
I'm a little annoyed what they did to Kenya. I really am.
No.
Just saying, there's no way she put all these posters up without production knowing. Production had to know what she was doing.
I agree. They probably knew, but that doesn't mean.
And then they
would
turn
tell...
it on her. It's the same thing they did to Brandy Glanville. Oh, whatever.
We'll see what happens.
We will see what happens.
Okay. Until next time, thank you for watching. Please give us 5-star reviews and tell your friends. Bye.